Plans for President Trump's ballroom hit a wall when a preservation group filed a lawsuit. A federal judge today hearing arguments for the first time on whether to block construction until plans can be reviewed.
The hearing had a lawyer for the National Trust for Historic Preservation sparring with the Trump administration over whether laws governing construction of federal buildings here in D.C. apply to the president and his executive mansion. The administration acknowledged in court that the plans for the ballroom are not final. At this stage of the case, Judge Richard Leon said he's inclined to let the project continue for now, but he warned that if any ongoing below-ground work on a foundation might affect the size of the ballroom, it might have to be undone.
ABC Stephen Portnoy. The protracted pretrial hearing for Luigi Mangione continues. He's charged in the fatal shooting of United Healthcare CEO last December in New York City and fleeing to Pennsylvania. The defense trying to get some key evidence dismissed ahead of the murder trial, claiming police officers who engaged Mangione in Pennsylvania, McDonald's did not properly seize the items. Here's ABC's Aaron Katursky.
For the defense, they're trying to challenge all of this as irregular. They're saying that there was no authority to search Mangione, either his person or his backpack, and that's where so much of the substantial evidence against him came from, the alleged murder weapon, the writings, the notes, all of this. And so they're still trying to convince the judge that none of this evidence should be allowed when Mangione eventually goes on trial for murdering Brian Thompson.
Michelle Franzen, ABC News.
CVS Health supports people in the moments that matter, from picking up a prescription to connecting care. With nearly 5 million daily interactions and serving 185 million consumers and 1.5 million healthcare professionals, CVS Health holds a trusted place in healthcare. By simplifying care and improving health, we're helping people get the care they need. Learn more at cvshealth.com/Investor Day.
News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KVNU.
4:05 now on this Tuesday. I'm Will Feelwright. Your KVNU local news as we begin KVNU's For the People show. Well, firefighters controlled a commercial structure fire in Tremonton last night, preventing extensive damage. The Garland Fire Department, along with the Tremonton Fire Department, were called to the scene shortly before 9 o'clock. Now, crews say they encountered heavy smoke conditions coming from an auto repair workshop that was on the property. Interior teams entered the structure and brought the fire under control. Authorities reported moderate damage to the building, but no injuries resulted from the incident. The cause of the fire remains under investigation. Meanwhile, the American Red Cross is urging the public to donate blood and contribute funds during its 12 Days of Christmas matching campaign that runs through Christmas Day. Now, Heidi Ruster, who's CEO of the Utah-Nevada region, emphasized that donations are crucial for saving lives and maintaining essential services throughout the holiday season when there is an increased need. Now, financial contributions support laboratory equipment, facility build-outs, and also constant efforts to assist victims of house fires and natural disasters, in addition to training staff and volunteers. Now, Ruster noted the Utah-Nevada chapter conducts over 5,000 blood drives annually to meet hospital needs. Those interested in donating blood can schedule an appointment at redcross.org. Well, the Utah Highway Patrol has identified the driver who was killed in a fatal collision involving two school buses Friday night as 43-year-old Melvin Beckstead. Now, investigators believe driver fatigue caused Beckstead's pickup truck to swerve into oncoming traffic near Ephraim along Highway 89. Now, the truck first grazed one school bus before crashing head-on into a second. Beckstead was pronounced dead at the scene. Altogether, 17 students were hospitalized following the collision, which involved students from Wasatch Academy. Now, officials provided an update confirming that most of those injured students have been released from the hospital. 3, though, do still remain under medical care. In other news, medical technology company Stryker announced a major expansion of its Salt Lake City operations yesterday, projecting an investment exceeding $615 million and the creation of 862 new jobs over the next 2 decades. Now, the expansion was supported by a post-performance tax reduction award from the Utah Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity, which utilizes the state's Economic Development Tax Increment Financing Program. Now, Stryker, which has operated in Salt Lake City for nearly 25 years, cited Utah's strong talent pool and innovation-friendly environment as key drivers for the expansion. Now, Jefferson Moss, executive director of the Office of Economic Opportunity, called the expansion a reflection of Utah's deep talent pool and the strength of its life sciences industry. Meanwhile, checking your weather here at the top of the hour, we're going to see some rain headed our way over the next couple of days as we've had sunshine today, temperatures in the high 40s. Tonight, we're going to drop into the mid to low 30s with that rain beginning overnight and then continuing most of the day. Tomorrow, we'll continue to see rain on and off through the rest of the week into the weekend. And weather this hour is brought to you by our friends at Napa Auto Parts. It is on starting tomorrow. Get 10% off everything Milwaukee at your Napa Auto Parts stores Wednesday and Thursday. It's at any of your locally owned Napa Auto Parts stores to take advantage of that 10% off Milwaukee sale tomorrow and Thursday at Napa Auto Parts, your locally owned and operated Preston to Providence Auto Parts stores. And I'm Will Feelright, KVNU News.
Roof Rescue is your local roof specialist, dedicated to keeping your home safe and dry no matter the weather. Their team of experienced roofers is here to serve you, providing top quality service at affordable prices. From minor repairs to complete roof replacements, they've got you covered. Remember, your roof is your first line of defense in protecting your family from the elements. So don't wait until the next storm to discover your roof problems. Call Roof Rescue today at 435-999-4268. They're your trusted local roofing experts, here to keep your home safe and dry. Roof Rescue, celebrating 10 years of providing watertight peace of mind.
Local news and the best talk. News Talk KVNU.
Happy holidays from Birch Creek Golf Course. For your golfer this Christmas, I invite you to visit birchcreekgolf.com. Birch Creek's online store offers punch passes that are on sale at the spring sale price, as well as driving range passes and discounted golf lessons from our PGA teaching staff. So for your golfer this Christmas, I invite you to visit birchcreekgolf.com and enjoy Birch Creek's virtual online store. And happy holidays from your friends at Birch Creek.
What if your holiday gift could feed a hungry child or warm someone right here in Cache Valley? This Christmas, you can. The Light the World giving machines are on Center Street in Logan now through December 31st, where giving is as easy as buying a candy bar. From chickens and blankets to fruit trees, bicycles, and school supplies. Just tap a button and choose a gift that changes a life. Every penny goes straight to charity. Visit givingmachine.org to learn more.
Discount Tire. So much more than a tire store.
Cold roads are coming. Please don't risk driving without proper winter grip. Go to Discount Tire and Automotive right now. Get a $50 instant rebate on any 4-traction tires or choose winter tires for a safer ride in temperatures below 45 degrees. They make it easy with layaway, no credit check financing, and 12 months, no interest. Stay safe, save money, and get ready for the season. Hurry in to Discount Tire and Automotive today.
Discount Tire. So much more than a tire store.
KVNU's For the People with Jason Williams and Bill Walter.
And it is Utah known as the fraud capital of the world. Not because we have more people committing fraud, but because we have so many people falling for it.
Going beneath the headlines and connecting you to the newsmakers.
The radio is a great way to get the word out to a lot of people in an emergency. So we thank you for your help and being a partner with us.
For the People on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM, 102.1 FM, online at 610kvnu.com and on the KVNU mobile app.
Welcome to KVNU's For the People. It is Tuesday, December 16th. I'm Jason Williams. 47 degrees here at the Radio Ranch at 4:12 in the afternoon. Appreciate everyone tuning in. Quite a bit going on in Utah politics regarding the legislature, even though the legislature is not in any kind of special session or interim session for the remainder of the year as they gear up for the annual general session that starts mid-January. Several headlines involving the legislature today that, it's been a bad couple of months of news for the legislature. They're struggling on the PR front, to say the least. We'll talk about this. A lawsuit filed by Utah tribes quoting Utah officials in the lawsuit. A whistleblower, in fact, a well-known whistleblower. here in Utah, involved with SITLA, the Lands Trust organization that the legislature funds and is in charge of managing, selling, and leasing land with the money, any money made going back into the public school system, a long-running program. A top official with the Lands Trust program is quoted in this lawsuit claiming that the Speaker of the House undermined and even maybe broke the law in running interference on the sale of land to the tribe, including legislation. Now, named in the lawsuit is also one of our own, Cache Valley Representative Casey Snyder. We'll talk about what the lawsuit claims, what Tim Robinson is his name, a well-known man on Capitol Hill, what he is quoted as having said to the tribes and of his own experience working with the legislature on land legislation. But again, painting a pretty ugly picture of, well, again, the same thing, a legislature kind of out of control. We'll talk about that later on in the hour, again, with a unfortunate news cycle for the legislature. We also have, as part of the show today, another sneak preview of Sutherland Institute's Defending Ideas. For those not familiar, this is a weekly video cast, a show, if you will, that Sutherland Institute runs for their donors and for policymakers and more. Sutherland Institute, a conservative think tank based in Salt Lake with a single agenda, which is to influence public policy via, discussions, idea swapping, and, of course, direct lobbying. This week, this is going to be an interesting one because it fits with a lot of what has happened over the last year or so as far as some headlines and some concerns, social concerns, things like that. But Nick Dunn sits down this week with Beth Akers, and she's a Sutherland Institute contributor, and they're discussing their own new survey findings. Sutherland Institute hired Y2 Analytics, a pretty established polling firm here in Utah. Got off to a rocky start. They had a bad few years, but they've done some decent work over the last several years. And Sutherland hired them to do a survey on, men in Utah. We also have new research from USU's project, Utah Women in Leadership Project, on women and homelessness. And the two groups weren't working together, but it gives us an opportunity to kind of contrast some things that are, I think, a challenge for adult men and women in today's day and age, but more prominently maybe here in Utah. So that's coming up later on in the show as well, as part of our discussion around this week's sneak preview for our listeners of Sutherland Institute's Defending Ideas. There is a lot of news surrounding fire lately. Fire crews have been called to a couple of different, very strange fires. The most recent you heard from Will there during the news, fire crews called to control a commercial structure fire in Tremont. And this was Garland Fire Department provided some aid as well, joining the Tremont Fire Department. This was shortly before 9 p.m. last night, and crews were called out because of reports of heavy smoke coming from an auto repair workshop on the property. And they were able to get the fire under control without too much trouble. But it was a serious concern because there were a lot of tanks of flammable fuels and things like that. The cause of the fire remains under investigation. But one of the concerns in this fire, according to the Box Elder County Sheriff's Office, it was that its proximity to... So if you may have noticed, it's been a bit of a dry winter so far. We are expecting some potential showers, at least, over the next several days, but nothing super significant. The heat has dissipated, so wildfire concern is down quite a bit, but without a snow cover, without having the super wet fall that all of us had hoped for water-wise, wildfire is still a concern in December, a week or so out from the Christmas holiday. Not usually the way things go. And with that in mind, some new work put out today by the USU Extension on the Wildland Urban Interface. This is actually something that Richmond City is going to be holding a public hearing on this week. Why? Why is this coming up now, and why is Richmond getting on top of it and holding a public hearing Thursday night? Well, there are several reasons, but it all, as almost everything we discuss these days, in the end, comes down to growth. We're building a lot. We need to build a lot, and we're building that further into that area that is designated as a Wildland Urban Interface. And it presents some challenges, and some of those challenges mean that, well, I mean, at a certain point, conversations are starting to bubble up. Do we have the capacity to fight both urban and wildfires here in northern Utah? Well, we'll try and answer that question, at least as much as possible, with some help from the USU Extension crew after this quick break.
News Talk 610 AM, 102.1 FM, KVNU.
When plumbing problems hit, you don't want just anyone in your home. You want a trusted friend with a proven track record. That's why more people are turning to JM Mechanical Plumbing. The same company that's been keeping your home comfortable for decades has a team of plumbing experts for leaks, boilers, water softeners, or water heaters. JM Mechanical Plumbing does it right the first time. Call 563-6267 today and let the trusted experts at JM Mechanical Plumbing take care of your home.
Merry Christmas
from Murdoch Hyundai.
This season, we're celebrating you and giving back with great savings and holiday cheer.
During the Hyundai Getaway Sales Event, receive 0% for 5 years on the Tucson or Santa Fe. And every new Hyundai comes with America's Best Warranty, a 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty, and owner's assurance.
When you walk through our doors,
you feel like family.
At Murdoch Hyundai in Logan, Linden, and Murray, and online at murdochhyundai.com.
Call 888-391-6080 for your C dealer for complete details. Offer expires 1/2/26.
I'm Larry Gelwicks, the getaway guru for Morris Columbus Travel and Regent Cruises. Dreaming of a luxury escape? Regent Cruises offers all-inclusive voyages around the world. Indulge in the ultimate cruise experience with gourmet dining, spacious suites, and exclusive shore excursions. Call Morris Columbus Travel today.
Come on and get away, Morris Columbus.
This Christmas, give the gift of jewelry. Find your most brilliant jewelry at S.C. Needham Jewelers. For generations, we've been a Cache Valley tradition. Our store is full of excellent values on diamonds, rings, jewelry, and watches. Find our jewelry specials starting at $49. Also, you'll enjoy a festive shopping experience at Utah's oldest jewelry store, located in historic downtown Logan. Open Monday through Saturday, 10 to 7. S.C. Needham Jewelers, middle of the block, at the sign of the clock.
Oh, the weather outside is frightful, but the fire.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. Richmond City residents are invited to a public hearing Thursday night, and the discussion is an interesting one because it is, well, I mean, as all things do these days in northern Utah, Cache Valley specifically, it ties back to growth. Basically, we're being pressed by population growth. We have to build a lot to keep home prices reasonable or get them to reasonable, and also to just basically build to meet demand for housing. We're building a lot, and that means we're building into, especially in areas like Richmond, we're building into areas that have just been wildland areas or open fields or and what this means is that, well, the easy way to understand what Representative Casey Snyder calls a WUI, which is a Wildland Urban Interface, is that you've got these foothills that come down, and they're they're prone to wildfire. Lightning is sparked usually, is what we see here in Cache Valley. Sometimes, one year recently, it was a shooter not adhering to the "please don't shoot out here" signs and announcements, and it sparks a wildfire. That wildfire burns through the foothills and usually burns up, but not always, depending on the winds. It can present a problem if the foothill face is on fire, and then that burns into the canyon. That happened several years ago in the mouth of Blacksmith Fork Canyon. It actually burned almost all the way to the left-hand fork turn, which is a few miles up the canyon. It's a pretty big concern. In Spanish Fork recently, a foothill face fire sparked by, I don't remember what, it then burned into the canyon and out into the remote areas of the forest. They decided to let it burn because that was an area that was listed for a prescribed burn the next summer anyway, and winds were in their favor. They let it burn for about a day, and then the wind shifted, and the fire found new fuel, came back in a different trajectory across new fuel, and led to the evacuation of hundreds of homes in the Spanish Fork area. So I present all this just to say this is kind of what's at stake. It's a serious thing. The WUI, the Wildland Urban Interface. Now, if there are no homes out there, it's just wildland, and oftentimes they can either let it burn or at very least fire crews can more casually fight the fire. If there are homes in the area, structures, and people, obviously a whole different beast. And so that is why there's this focus on the WUI, the Wildland Urban Interface. And here in Cache Valley, in parts of the valley, we built out into the WUI a long time ago. I just like that word. I learned that from Representative Snyder. I'm never going to stop using it. But we built out into this Wildland Urban Interface a long time ago in parts of Cache Valley. For other parts of the valley, it's new, building out into that area. So with that in mind, the Richmond City Council has voted to hold a public hearing Thursday, December 18th, at the Park Community Center. Obviously, all Richmond residents are invited. That center, by the way, is 90 South, 100 West in Richmond. And they will open the doors, I'm told, around 6:30. There is no hard start time on this listed. They won't open before 6:30. The public hearing is for the purpose of discussing Ordinance 2025-15. And this is an ordinance that would amend the Richmond City Municipal Code, Title 3-000, Municipal Government, and Municipal Code Part 3-700, Fire Department and Emergency Services, adding in its entirety a new chunk of code, a few new paragraphs, if you will. This will, if added, be known as Municipal Code 3-714, International Wildland Urban Interface Code. Now, the word international is getting some conspiracy theorists stirred up, but rest assured, there is nothing hinky going on here. What the International Wildland Urban Interface Code is simply a set of standards. This was first developed in 2021. And you can actually read it via a couple of links I've posted on our Facebook page, but FEMA actually has the best description of how it's applied. What the International Wildland Urban Interface Code is simply a set of standards. Now, you can actually buy this as a book, by the way, if you want to. It's code, so it's not exciting reading, but it is published that way. And the goal of this is to safeguard property from wildfire, from wildland fires. And the way they do that is getting ahead of the construction in the first place. So give you I'll paint a hypothetical picture here. Richmond City adds this to their code. It allows the city to then designate certain areas within the city boundaries a part of a WUI, a Wildland Urban Interface. Once that designation is made, in those areas, there will be different regulations for construction and land use than there might be in downtown Richmond or near the Maverick in Richmond. Now, keep in mind, Richmond, when it comes to Richmond City, here in Cache Valley, for example, most of us, I think, when we think of a Wildland Urban Interface, we think to the east of us, right? They're on the foothills of all the mountains. And that is the case for most cities in the valley, unless you're in Wellsville or Mendon. Then it's to your west. In Richmond, it's both. They've got a Wildland Urban Interface surrounding them to the east, to the west, to the north, and for the time being, at least, a bit to the south. So this is a pretty big deal that they're going to be opening up this discussion, and can of worms if you want. But it, I think, is a good idea for them to have the talk. So what is this code? What specifically are we talking about? Some examples from the international, again, this is the International Wildland Urban Interface Code, and it's been adopted by thousands of cities across the West already. In fact, it was adopted by most cities over the size of 100,000 in Idaho last year and the year before. Utah, there are a few cities that are stragglers on this because it's just never come up before, but now it is as we're building out. So what does this mean, basically? Construction and land use regulations are primarily what's affected by a city adopting this ICC code, this Wildland Urban Interface Code. And so primarily it'll have specific requirements for something that Representative Snyder and the fire marshal has actually talked to us about before when it comes to Wildland Urban Interface, something called defensible space, which means that you've got a space around your home or around your fence line, if possible, that is going to serve as a bit of a fire breaker, but also is a space for firefighters if necessary, fire trucks if necessary. But the main goal, again, is a space, a bit of a fire break between your backyard and your fence line, or your fence line and other property, or your fence line and undeveloped wildland. So that's one thing. That is something that could be potentially required in code for construction on those outer edges of Richmond City. It also can require, and again, this is nothing being proposed specifically, as I understand it, by Richmond City. What they're specifically proposing is just adopting the standards into city code, saying we call these areas, we Richmond City call these areas a WUI, a Wildland Urban Interface Area, and if we permit construction in those areas, there will be special rules for the construction and for the land use, recognizing that if there is a wildfire, it's coming here first. It's a smart thing to do, not only to protect property, but of course to make it easier to manage wildfire fighting for the crews involved and more. One other example of a ICC International Wildland Urban Interface Code that a city might adopt. Again, Richmond is just talking about adopting the standards. The specifics may be hashed out later, but another example is requiring ignition-resistant building materials. So, some materials that aren't as flame retardant as others are allowed in, say, apartment building construction in a downtown. But it would mean if you're building out in one of these Wildland Urban Interface areas, you may be required to use very ignition-resistant building. Now, that can up costs sometimes, but on the back end, for the homeowner, it can also greatly reduce your insurance costs. This would also require developers to make special concessions for emergency access that they may not be asked to do when building in a more urban-only area, downtown or near downtown. And where needed, developers may have to make concessions in their plan for additional water supply. Now, I don't know whether that means, and this will be up to the city to decide, probably permit by permit, whether that means some sort of water storage option for firefighting possibilities, or whether that is paying to connect in with current pressurized systems, with larger pipes and things like that. It can up construction costs. I did some digging on this. But again, for the homeowners in the long run, it reduces insurance costs long term. It can also, of course, the most important thing, stop your home from burning down if there's a wildfire. Now, some of the development as well, based on data from fire incidents, technical reports from around the country, mitigation strategy reports, basically what's working and what isn't. These standards are updated every 3 years. So that's something interesting as well, as we're coming up on the third year. So these standards will see a big update later next year by the ICC. But what Richmond does is they have some leeway on this. Adopting the Wildland Urban Interface Code does not tie the city's hands in any way. It does not stop a city from changing or tweaking the rules a bit. What it says basically is, as a city, they're recognizing that they're now building out and getting permit requests out into this WUI area, this Wildland Urban Interface area. It's wildfire then becomes a greater concern, both the costs of fighting it, but also the risk to property, life, and limb. And so they adopt these standards to say, if you're going to, as a developer, if you're going to build in these areas, you will build with very ignition-resistant building materials. You will provide emergency access above and beyond what is usually required in more urban areas, and you will account for water supply concerns. And usually that means, many people may not be familiar with this, but the water pipes that bring water to your home and the home of all your neighbors, oftentimes they aren't actually big enough for fighting a big wildfire. They're big enough for fighting a single house fire, but they don't have enough volume or pressure to actually, mount a staged battle against a burning wildfire. So that would give the option for Richmond City to require developers to account for that in the construction and design of any housing project, things like that. So again, that's just a rough description of what these are. I'm seeing a lot of this on Facebook. I'm seeing a lot of conspiracy theories on Facebook because the word international is in there. It is a widely used set of standards. It is, most cities, again, over 100,000 in Idaho have already adopted these standards. The Wildland Urban Interface came up for them a lot earlier. And many cities in Utah already use them as well. It's just a set of standards that say, here's how we'll build homes and design neighborhoods in these WUI areas, these Wildland Urban Interface areas. And again, the Richmond City Council is holding a public hearing on this Thursday, December 18th, at the Park Community Center located at 90th South, 100 West in Richmond. This will be roughly around 6:30 p.m. when doors open, and the public hearing is to consider a series of proposed ordinances that would simply adopt the International Interface Code, the standards for wildland urban interfaces, into city code. So more details on that, you can check out Richmond City's website, which is simply richmondutah.gov. And they've got a link there with everything I've just basically read to you on the details of the public hearing. If you want to read more about the standards themselves, again, you can buy the book. It's actually available on Amazon. I don't know if you can get it in local areas, but I've also linked to the Fire and Safety Journal of America. This is a journal basically for fire marshals, talking about how the standards were developed and why they encourage every city of any size with a wildland area that encroaches into city boundaries to adopt them. Links on the Facebook page, and we'll be back after this look at the news with KVN News. We'll feel right.
Well, thank you, Jason. Logan Mayor-elect Mark Anderson issuing a public apology over the weekend after he and his spouse, Ronette, removed several protest signs placed by neighbors opposing the removal of ash trees along the Canyon Road water pipeline project. Now, Anderson, a former city council member and arborist, had publicly supported cutting down the mature trees, including one at his own family's home. Now, he admitted that his professional opinion was seen by neighbors as offensive, callous, and harsh. Now, the incident occurred Friday night. Anderson stated that he reacted to emotion instead of listening to his own logic and reason, acknowledging that taking the signs down was wrong. Now, early Saturday morning, Anderson collected, cleaned, and restaked the signs, placing them back in their original locations. He then spent the day making personal apologies to his neighbors, including a family whose 6-year-old daughter offered ideas for beautifying the street. In other news, a 33-year-old Texas truck driver, Daniel Antonio Mora, pleaded guilty earlier this month to attempted rape of a child in Logan's 1st District Court. Now, Mora was arrested 15 months ago after driving to a North Logan department store to meet an undercover officer posing as a 13-year-old girl online. Now, according to court records, a Logan City police officer began messaging Mora in August 2024. Now, Mora reportedly asked the supposed girl to leave school and meet him at the North Logan Walmart, claiming that he had reserved a hotel room. Now, Morris sent photos of himself, including one inside the cab of a red semi-truck. Police established a perimeter, located the truck, and took Mora into custody without incident. Authorities later found phones containing the chats along with condoms and male enhancement pills in the vehicle. Now, Mora reportedly confessed to the meeting and is being held without bail. He's scheduled to be sentenced in February and could face up to life in prison. And tonight, the Logan Municipal Council is scheduled to select an interim member to fill the seat vacated by Mayor-elect Mark Anderson, who resigned last month. Now, the new member will serve Anderson's unexpired term until January 1st of 2028. Now, 9 candidates are vying for the position, which will be decided by the 4 remaining council members. Now, each applicant will have 3 minutes to introduce themselves, followed by a vote to narrow the field down to 2 finalists for interviews. Now, Melissa Daly is widely seen as the front-runner, having previously chaired the Parks and Recreation Board and narrowly lost a council seat back in the November election. And the Pocatello Police Department has canceled the alert for a missing person, Paul Eldridge Jr., confirming that the 61-year-old has been located. Now, Eldridge, who has dementia and requires medication, had been reported missing after he was last seen in the Gateway Transitional Care Center in Pocatello at around 6:30 last night. Now, authorities did not release details on where or when Eldridge was found, but confirmed that the endangered missing person alert was no longer active. Well, we've got some clouds coming in, bringing a chance of some rain beginning overnight tonight, and then rain likely for most of the day tomorrow. As temperatures have been in the high 40s today, tonight will drop into low 30s, then be back into the high 40s tomorrow. We could see even a possibility of a mix of rain and snow coming on Thursday, as this chance of moisture continuing through the rest of the week and into the weekend. And weather this hour is brought to you by Roof Rescue. From minor repairs to complete roof replacements, Roof Rescue is dedicated to keeping your home and business safe and dry. Remember, Roof Rescue at roofrescueusa.com. And I'm Will Feelright with your KVNU local headlines.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. In Los Angeles, prosecutors detailed charges against Nick Reiner in the stabbing deaths of his parents, director Rob Reiner and Michelle Singer. ABC's Melissa Adon is in L.A.
We now have these formal charges of 2 counts of first-degree murder for each Rob and Michelle. Nathan Hochman was sharing what an impact this was, saying how the community here has lost an icon when referring to Rob and Michelle, equal icons here to the entertainment industry.
Reiner is expected to be arraigned tomorrow. Police in Rhode Island asking the public to help identify a person of interest in the Brown University shootings that left 2 students dead and 9 injured. Today releasing new enhanced video of what the FBI describes as a man walking through neighborhoods wearing a hooded jacket and a face mask. Another round of heavy rain hitting the Pacific Northwest, overwhelming rivers and levees. At least 1 person is dead in Washington state due to flooding. This is ABC.
You work before dawn and long past dusk. At Black Cliffs Equipment, we see that. That's why we bring you Massey Ferguson tractors. Right now, get 0% financing for up to 84 months on select tractor models. Plus, great offers on hay equipment. And when the work gets tough, our service team is here to help with genuine AGCO parts. As a way of saying thanks for all you do, mention this ad when you come in for a free gift. Black Cliffs Equipment, your Massey Ferguson dealer in Hyde Park.
Bringing Wall Street to Main Street. From your local experts in downtown Logan, this is the Adams Wealth Advisors Market Report.
Hi, this is Brooke with Adams Wealth Advisors. Stocks closed lower today after a better than expected but delayed November jobs report failed to revive hopes for near-term interest rate cuts. The economy added 64,000 jobs in November, signaling a softening labor market that supports earlier rate cuts but does not point to significantly deeper easing ahead. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 302 points, closing at 48,114. The Nasdaq finished higher, up 0.26%, helped by strength in the technology sector. Meanwhile, the S&P 500 slipped 0.24% to 6,800. Only 3 sectors ended the day in positive territory: technology, consumer discretionary, and communication services, and none rose more than 0.2%. All other sectors closed lower, led by energy, which dropped just over 3%. The bond market rallied as investors sought safety. Both the U.S. 5-year and 10-year Treasury yields declined by nearly 4 basis points to 3.7% and 4.15%, respectively. Today's economic data showed the unemployment rate ticking up more than expected to 4.6%, while wage growth was below expectations. However, as mentioned earlier, a higher than expected number of jobs was added to the U.S. economy, so the report painted a rather mixed picture, making it hard to gauge the direction of the economy. Retail sales surprised to the upside, while preliminary business surveys indicated that the economy is still growing, but at a slower than expected pace. Tomorrow, several Federal Reserve officials will be speaking to the public, from whom we may gain important insights into future monetary policy.
That's your update from Adams Wealth Advisors, guiding your financial future one day at a time. For personalized help planning yours, reach out to us at 435-752-1702. See you soon, Cache Valley. Advisory services offered through Adams Wealth Management, a registered investment advisor. For important disclosures and more information, visit adamswealthadvisors.com.
Everyone has an estate, but do you have an estate plan? This is Jace Allen, Northern Utah's estate planning attorney. At Allen Law Office, wills and trusts are what we do. If you've been putting it off, now is the time to get it done. Don't wait until it's too late. Protect your loved ones, protect your legacy, protect your assets. Start today at cashlegal.com or just search Allen Law Office. Wills and trusts are what we do. Allen Law Office.
Bells on bobtails ring, making spirits bright. What fun it is to ride and sing a sleighing song tonight.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. One of the bright spots of all of the guests that I had planned today having to postpone because Christmas is a busy time and most people in Utah have kids. And I get it for the guests out there listening that had to postpone on me. I understand. I totally do. I just have to crack jokes. But you've already promised to make good tomorrow or earlier next week, so we're fine. We're good. But during the break, we got a lot of calls a lot of messages from listeners wanting to know if this was really such a big deal, this Wildland Urban Interface, or WUI, as Representative Casey Snyder told us to call him. This is, it's a big deal. For those just tuning in, Richmond City is holding a public hearing Thursday night to consider the adoption into city code of something called the International Wildland Urban Interface Code. It's not a secret UN conspiracy. I saw something about that earlier today on social media. No, it's a widely adopted throughout Idaho and Wyoming. Most cities hit this challenge long ago, and they've already adopted the standards. It's a set of standards for construction and land use and infrastructure design and development that considers the fact that where the homes are going to be built is a WUI, a Wildland Urban Interface, meaning you've got to make extra consideration for ignition-resistant building materials, emergency access roads and firefighting lanes behind properties, water supply, because the culinary water system oftentimes has enough pressure to fight for firefighters to fight a single house fire. Very few city water systems, buried pipes, are designed with fighting a wildfire in mind. That requires a special connection to a larger pipe, basically. So that's what these standards ensure. Regulations that ensure construction, neighborhood design, and more accounts for the fact that this is an area that at least has higher odds of being in the path of a wildfire than downtown does. So there's no conspiracy here. It's a smart thing for Richmond to do. Again, remember, Richmond, they've got WUIs on the east, west, north, and south. Logan only has to worry about a little bit on the east. Providence, the same. Mendon on the west, Wellsville on the west, Hiram on the south. Richmond right now surrounded by Wildland Urban Interface areas where a wildfire comes through and you're trying to fight a fire that's a wildfire, but you're doing it with the construction design, neighborhood design, and regulations for water and infrastructure and more that would normally be just in the downtown of a city. You're not going to be able to fight that fire very effectively. So that's why they're doing this. And I think it's a smart move. But to several listeners who said sincerely, is this such a big deal? I mean, we've always had the potential for wildfire to come down the hill instead of burning up the hill if a lightning spark fire starts there on a foothill or something like that. Is it a big deal? Yeah. The statistics show you that the more built out into the WUI area an area is, the more time, money, and effort and risk to life and limb the firefighters face just themselves. It's a lot harder to fight a fire if you're trying to protect sheds and homes and cars and people, as opposed to just drawing a fire line and hoping the fire burns in the right direction as you would out in the middle of nowhere. So this is, yeah, it's a big deal. But to kind of explain more, so since we had guests have to cancel today last minute, we've got some ability to rearrange the schedule here. So I'd said we're going to be talking about Mike Schultz, the target of Speaker of the House, target of a lawsuit from the Ute tribe, a pretty serious lawsuit and a PR problem for the Speaker, to say the least. We'll now do that in hour 2 after the Sutherland Institute sneak preview for our listeners, because I wanted to let you hear a bit of this. This is Utah State University's forestry extension, and the Department of Forestry, Fire, and State Lands last year held a lunchtime webinar series. And at one of these events last year, Nate Behrens, who was a catastrophic fire program coordinator for the state, spoke about growth in Utah, building out more and more into these areas, and the concern that the state has that cities aren't prepared for the potential for a fire in these wildland urban interface areas. And here's what Nate told the crew, which included mayors, city council members, the governor, and everyone at this webinar series last year.
It's the line, area, or zone where structures and other human development meet or intermingle with undeveloped wildland or vegetative fuels. That's a pretty standard definition. It's one that's used across agency boundaries and helps us kind of have a starting point for an understanding of what the WUI is. So popularity leads to problems. The WUI issue isn't going to go away, whether it's here in the Western United States or nationwide. I think we all understand that as our urban areas expand, we're going to be moving more into urban interface areas, and as folks build second homes and vacation homes and things in our urban area or outside of our urban areas, that attraction to the natural landscape. People want views of mountains and lakes, and we're not going to see that issue go away. One of the things that a message in my current role that I try and get across to folks is the understanding of fire as a natural part of our landscape. And that's something that is often misunderstood after 70 some odd years of Smokey Bear and our efforts to mitigate fire starts from the human component. I think we've lost some understanding of the fact that fire is a natural component to the North American landscape pretty much across the board. And some of the things that I've seen recently, there was an excellent paper published by UC Berkeley, I think that was released a week or two ago, that made an interesting note, and I think it's a great way to look at this. And they started by saying, we don't fight earthquakes. And I think that's a really great place to start a conversation, because we don't fight earthquakes. We don't fight hurricanes. We don't fight tornadoes. We prepare for them. We prepare for them, and we mitigate in our preparations the impact that they can have on our lives. And I think we need to start doing more of that when it comes to wildland fire management, and understanding that fire is the natural component of the landscape, and that just trying to suppress fires once they start isn't an effective means of dealing with the problem. Fire suppression is a very expensive process. It's a risky, hazardous process for those that are involved directly in it. And if we can do things on the front end, prevention and mitigation, We can reduce the cost in the long term, and we can also reduce the risk of those folks that we task with entering areas for suppression operations. So that fire being a natural part of the landscape is something you're going to hear me bring up quite a bit over the next hour, and how we adapt and mitigate to living in areas that are prone naturally to fire.
Nate, during that presentation, talked about the access and infrastructure problems that are unique to WUI areas, Wildland Urban Interface areas, and that is primarily that minor fires become major disasters. It was something that is just a slow-moving, low-wind day grass fire on a foothill that firefighters might actually just kind of watch and build fire lines to keep contained. In a Wildland Urban Interface area, it becomes the potential for millions of dollars in destroyed property and infrastructure. It becomes a potential for a complete outage of the electrical system for the entire city. It becomes a nightmare as far as even buried infrastructure can be damaged, sewer systems and more. And so he said a minor fire can quickly become a major disaster in these WUI areas. But for the city, one of the reasons Richmond, for example, Thursday night holding this public hearing to consider adopting Wildland Urban Interface Code standards, for the city, it can even just be a cost concern. Nate said during the presentation that fires in Wildland Urban Interface areas on paper cost 8 to 10 times more to fight than a traditional wildfire or single home fire in downtown. 8 to 10 times more cost to the county, the city, and the state to fight these fires when they burn into populated areas that are wildfire prone. So Richmond City again inviting their residents to a public hearing Thursday night at 6:30 p.m. to basically discuss adding the International Wildland Urban Interface Code, something widely adopted in Idaho and Wyoming and most of southern Utah already, that would be adopted to the Richmond City Code, allowing them to put stiffer regulations and specific standards on construction infrastructure design and more in these WUI areas, these Wildland Urban Interface areas. Regulations would be a bit different than if a house was going to be constructed in city center or an existing subdivision in near downtown. So it's an interesting discussion. More and more cities are going to be doing this, by the way. Richmond is the one in the news now for this public hearing Thursday evening. They've invited residents to, but eventually this is going to be discussed in Mendon, Wellsville. It's going to be a part of life in Utah going forward. So, interesting stuff. If you'd like to see Nate's full presentation, Nate Barron's Catastrophic Fire Program Manager for the state of Utah, it's a really interesting look at the concern over this additional, increased construction into these WUI areas, and how we need to start planning for fighting the fires smarter, Nate said in the presentation, rather than just the way we always have been, which is very expensive and, frankly, he said, ineffective. We'll be back with more of For the People right after this.
We're here with Chuck, founder of Dollar Loan Center. You always tell me it's worth the drive. What do you mean by that?
We charge so much less than payday or title lenders, and unlike banks, we actually lend money. Our locations are really nice, Craig. No bulletproof glass, plastic furniture joints. They're like the banks used to be. Clean, fun, great tunes on, and real-life staff who love to help. And if you don't want to stop in, you can complete your whole application on your couch via your fancy smartphone. But we sure would like to meet you in person and tell you all about Dollar Loan Center and how we can help you get more money for less money.
DLC lends up to $5,000 in minutes, and you can get your cash in person at one of our 70 locations, on our website, don'tbebroke.com, or even over the phone with one of our helpful, real staff members. You're gonna love Dollar Loan Center.
Licensed by the Utah Department of Financial Institutions. Subject to approval. Limitations may apply. See website for details. For the men and women who feed America and never ask for applause, West Motor Company salutes you. Thank you for raising the food that fills our tables, for your grit, your hard work. West Motor Company is proud to sell Ram and Ford trucks to help you do your job. So right now, farmers and ranchers can take an additional $500 off our lowest price. That's an extra $500 off every rebate, discount, and offer we can find. West Motor Company, 80 years strong and still driven to serve you.
This Christmas, give the gift of jewelry. Find your most brilliant jewelry at S.C. Needham Jewelers. For generations, we've been a Cache Valley tradition. Our store is full of excellent values on diamonds, rings, jewelry, and watches. Find our jewelry specials starting at $49. Also, you'll enjoy a festive shopping experience at Utah's oldest jewelry store, located in historic downtown Logan. Open Monday through Saturday, 10 to 7. S.C. Needham Jewelers, middle of the block, at the sign of the clock.
Hi, this is Ashley.
And I'm Robbie with LSS Insurance.
Is it that time? Time to think about retirement, Social Security, and Medicare? We can help.
Join us for our free Medicare and Social Security seminar this Thursday at 7 p.m.
It happens every third Thursday at our office next to the North Walmart. Let us help you make an informed decision for your retirement, Medicare, and Social Security benefits.
Call 752-9493 to RSVP.
And remember,
it happens every third Thursday at LSS Insurance.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. That's our time for hour one of today's show, but I hope you'll stick around. We'll kick things off next hour with Sutherland Institute's Defending Ideas, a sneak preview for our listener of the new episode each week on Tuesdays here on the show. Nick Dunn and Beth Akers of Sutherland Institute sit down to talk about their recent partnership with Y2 Analytics, a survey firm surveying the well-being of men in Utah. And they find 1 in 3 men in Utah are struggling. Struggling how and what might help? That's the discussion that Nick and Beth embark on. That'll kick us off next hour. And wrapping the hour up in hour 2, a lawsuit filed against the Speaker of the House and others. The Ute tribe claiming the Speaker of the House undermined legal land sales to the tribe. Not a good look. That's hour 2.